What is up, crew? Johnny Knows Tech, and so should you. Today we have a review of the Samsung Galaxy A02s. The Galaxy A02s is Samsung's cheapest phone of 2020 with only 2 gigabytes of RAM, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 with 32 gigs of storage. It is just enough for you to enjoy and use Android the way it was meant to be. Now, keep in mind, this is a sub $100 phone. You're not going to get Galaxy S21 level performance, definitely not Galaxy S22 level. The phone usually lags a lot, but maybe this would be a good buy for you if all you do is... Okay, never mind. Well, what I was going to say is this phone is perfect for casual social media and scrolling, but I just turned this phone on a few minutes ago, so it's going to freeze to high hell. And like I said, the 32 gigs of storage is not doing it any good, along with that terrible Geekbench score. If I could pull that up real quick. Oh look, TikTok isn't responding. Why does all this happen whenever I try to make a video? TikTok isn't responding. Grandma isn't responding. Your grandma Android isn't responding. I don't get it. Come on, close app. Alright, like I said though, this phone is a terrible Geekbench score. If I could pull that up real quick. This thing loads up like a PlayStation 2 loads up the data from a memory card. Like all the images just popping it, if you've ever seen it before. There you see the single core score of 121 and a multi-core score of 465. That is terrible. That is nowhere near even a Intel Core i3 level. This is just one of the, it just goes to show that maybe buying Motorola's Moto G Power or an LG Stylo or a K30 or something like that would be a way better buy. There's way better phones you can find for $100. And while Samsung typically does make very good phones, this is one of Samsung's worst phones out there. It's also one of their cheapest. But hey, I'll give it this. It plays Grand Theft Auto Vice City 10th Anniversary Edition. Truly a game of its time. And if I didn't say this before, if I didn't mention this, this phone does have 32 gigs of storage, which is expandable if you have a memory card, a little tiny SD card for it. And you can actually check, if you have a Samsung phone, you can check how much memory and storage you have with the device care. As you see, very terrible specs, except for the battery. I want to get to that stuff real quick. My phone charges really slowly. Earlier in this video it was at 9%, now it's at 12%, but the battery lasts really long. It is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, one of the biggest batteries ever in a smartphone. Truly a masterpiece, but at the same time it kind of makes sense because this phone is very power efficient. It doesn't use up a lot of power at all with the very slow performance. But like I said, if you're a heavy user, it'll gladly last you over a day. And I can show you this by proof. Now let's get to that camera, shall we? This phone has 13 megapixel triple camera as well as a flashlight next to it, which can take some okay shots if you're in good lighting, and a 5 megapixel front camera, which, if you can see right here, it's okay. It gets the job done. Not that great, but of course what ruins it is my face. You also have that 2x optical zoom. Anything past that looks terrible because it's digital zoom. If you could tell, there's a lot of grain there. It's okay at taking photos and even videos too. You can record in either high definition 720 or full high definition 1080p at up to 30 frames per second, which is a little disappointing, On iPhones, pretty much any iPhone 5S and later, you'll be able to record at 60 FPS. I just find it really disappointing that you can't record at that frame rate. You know, even though it's a sub $100 phone. Another thing worth mentioning though is the audio. You'll get really good, well, okay, maybe not really good, but okay audio out of this one firing speaker. You also have a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is something that most iPhones don't seem to get right. And of course, I just unplugged the USB-C charger, but at the same time, I don't think USB-C is much of a flex anymore for charging, because it should be the standard USB-C, you know, micro USB, which I think was the old way that Android used to charge. It's just far from outdated. That's another thing that Apple gets wrong, though. They use their own lightning connector. That's the one good thing about Androids. They all, in fact, most of them use USB Type-C, which is the standard nowadays. I also do have to mention this phone does support biometrics, even though it kinda sucks. Of course, this is a sub $100 phone. It is a bare bones phone released in the year of 2020 or 2021. So it only supports Face ID or face recognition. And let's try that face unlock real quick. There we go. After a lot of tries, you have to, it finally works after, like, what, 4 tries? The thing is, the catch is, it doesn't work as good as Apple's Face ID. Even some of the best Androids don't have the best biometrics. You have to use the same facial expression that you used when you activated the Face ID on here. So if you were angry, then you'd have to make an angry face. And, you know, it's kind of hard to do something like that. It's kind of hard to, you know, you don't always know whether you just had a funeral or you just became a millionaire and won the lottery when you were activating your Face ID. So it is kind of disappointing. It doesn't always detect your face. But a buy if if you're a casual user who doesn't really care too much about performance. Especially, this phone is okay at doing tasks and loading up web pages and all that once it's on. And like I said, the performance, it isn't that great, but it's okay. But just don't expect to run 2 or more apps at a time. And if you do run 2 or more apps at a time, then consider yourself lucky. Alright, we have a bunch of apps open now. Well, more like 5. But as you can see, apps do tend to close out in the background a lot. You're going to experience this a lot with this kind of phone. This is definitely, it's not meant to be the best. It's for people who don't have a lot of money for a phone or just don't really care. But let me know what you think about this phone in the comments below. If you're wanting to buy it, I would want to know why. I'm just kind of interested, but like I said, it's an okay phone if you're a minimalist who doesn't really like to do that much, and you just like to, get what needs to be done.